Well, welcome everyone. I'm Jill Hope, for those of you that might be new to me, and I want to welcome you to this Women with Wealth chat series. This is something that I have wanted to do for a little while. Normally, I jump right on board when I get these inspirations, and I sort of dragged my feet for a little while on this one. And I'm not exactly quite sure why that is, but I think what it's about, and I'll tell you more about this as we go, I think this is something that is going to evolve, but I've sort of been operating my life the last 6 to 12 months that when I get an inspiration, I go. So that's what you're here experiencing. And I really appreciate that you're on the journey and on the ride with me today. And we'll see where we go over the next few weeks. And I'm certain that it is going to be fun and hopefully inspiring for all of us. So really what the feeling is behind this series for me is it's really about helping people to connect with themselves more deeply and to really be able to connect with that vision of who you are as this woman with wealth. And when I say wealth, am I just talking about money? No, I am not. I'm really talking about all different types of abundance that we want to bring into our life. And you know, we are all successful women here. We all already have quite a bit of abundance in our lives. And it doesn't take a lot of looking to see where we see that. But also, as someone who is always wanting to expand and grow and create a bigger life, there's always more that we can bring in. So the idea behind this series is to help us to see what we're not seeing, to consider ideas and thoughts and how we're doing things in maybe a slightly different way, and to be able to pick up something that we can take, like a bite-sized little nugget that we can take and play with during the week, and hopefully unleash something a little bit bigger within us. I really do believe that, and I'm starting to see this more and more, is that the more you become, the more wealth you can welcome into your lives. So that's really what I'm hoping to open up for everybody here, is to find those places within yourself where maybe you're not really fully letting yourself out, and helping you see that and think in a different way so you can do that. So that's really what this series is about. Now, it was interesting because I sat down on Monday to tap into, okay, what's today's topic? And I do this with all the calls, and, you know, like Lindsay knows this, she's seen me operate the calls that she's participated in the past. I never really know what I'm going to talk about from week to week. And it was funny because I had meditated, and then I started journaling, and I was getting all of this information that really had nothing to do with the topic, and was what this program was supposed to be. And that, like I said at the beginning, I don't know what this program is, because I was getting something that was completely different from what I thought it was. And it seems like it's something that's going to evolve, as I said. So that was the first thing that wanted to come out before I even was given the topic, which I thought was fascinating and sort of affirmed maybe why I was dragging my feet a little bit. So the topic that I want to share today, and I'm really, really excited about this, is big life equals big energy. So what I really mean about that is that, you know, we all, as I was saying earlier, we all sort of want to tap into a bigger energy and to be able to create more in our lives. And something that I have noticed in myself, so just be open to where you might see this in your own life as well. I noticed that on the one hand, you know, there were things I want. I mean, I'm very clear about what my vision is and the things I want to bring into my life. But yet there are also things that, you know, these things would make my life much bigger than it is right now. And yet there are ways of being that I see clearly in myself that don't really equal big life. You know, I mean, I caught myself yesterday. In fact, I had a plan of something that I really thought I needed to get done. And instead, I chose to go surfing on the internet and check out all these sites that had nothing to do with what I was supposed to be doing. And so it's these little things, these little choices that we make that aren't really equaling big energy. And in fact, when I was doing that, it was actually bringing my energy down, and I noticeably felt that as I did it. So it's great on the one hand to have a vision and to see it and to feel it and to tap into it, get excited about it. But it's totally another thing to actually be that woman who is living that vision. And to do that, you've actually got to look at your daily habits and the daily decisions that you make and the things that you allow to run around in your head all day long. So that's really what this topic is all about. Now, as I was thinking about, okay, well, what are some of the things I want to talk about related to this topic? I immediately got this vision of this, it was actually a visualization that someone shared with me a number of years ago, and I don't remember where it came from, but it was really, really powerful and helped me understand this idea about having a bigger energy, expanding my energy. And so I want to share this with you and just see what you feel and what you might experience as a result of this. So what they shared with me is that, imagine that you are backstage. You're at a big event, and there's someone huge, some big star. I mean, it could be your favorite musical star. It could be someone like Oprah, but a big name, right? So think of someone like that when you think of them, you think of big life. Okay, so just come up with someone like that. In my mind right now, I'm just going to go with Oprah because she's right at the top of my mind. So imagine seeing this person. You are backstage. You were invited backstage to observe from that viewpoint. And you see this person, whether it's Oprah or someone else, and she walks out onto the stage. And you watch the people in the audience, and there are thousands of people in the audience. And they all stand up and they start giving her a standing ovation. And they're cheering and they're screaming and they're going crazy. Okay, maybe it's Mick Jagger, who knows. But they are sending an enormous amount of energy to her. And you watch her just gracefully, or him, gracefully stand there and receive all of that big energy, right? And they do it so well. Now, take that image of you observing that and just put that to the side. And now imagine that you are going to be the one now to walk out onto that stage. And all of those people are there to see you. And so they call your name, you walk out onto that stage, you see these thousands of people, they are all there for you. So really put yourself in that place of feeling that, feeling the cheers, seeing them rise and stand and clap for you. They're yelling out your name. They're sending you so much energy. Just close your eyes and just feel into that for a moment. I don't want you to imagine it. I really, really want you to feel that energy, what that feels like right now. And just notice what you're feeling. Notice where in your body you're feeling that energy. Notice what your body wants to do with that energy. Look at your posture. Feel, what is your posture doing as these people are sending that energy toward you? And realize that in order to have a big life, to have all these things that you want, and we all want different things. My big life is going to look different from your big life. It's going to look different from the next person's big life, right? But know that whatever the big life is that you want, you need to have this capacity to receive the energy that goes along with that. And the first time that I actually did this and I tapped in, it was so interesting to me because as I was feeling it, I actually felt my body sort of close up. I went like this. It was almost like a protective thing. I just sort of contracted in my posture. And I felt myself really kind of feel some fear and trepidation in my heart space. And it was so interesting because it showed me that I've got some work to do when it comes to my ability to receive big energy. And if I want all these big things that I say I want, I've got to be able to hold them when they come. And this kind of goes along with the lines of I'm sure you've heard many times probably this idea that most lottery winners, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's a really high percentage, like 95%, something like that. They lose all of their lottery winnings within 5 years. And it's for this very reason that they have not trained themselves to be able to hold that amount of energy. And money is simply energy, as is everything. We are all energy. And so we really need to develop the capacity to hold the energy that we say that we want. Now, in my life, this got me kind of going down a rabbit hole, and you can do with it what you will. And when you think about how you felt and reacted when I shared this with you, but I know for a fact that one thing I really struggled with is my capacity to receive, particularly when it came to people giving me gifts. It was interesting because I had this pattern where I would receive a gift, and it didn't matter what the gift was. I would receive a gift, and I would express gratitude and thank them, and I would put the gift down, and I wouldn't touch it. I would not touch it again for weeks, sometimes months, before I would actually do anything with that gift. Had nothing to do with how much I loved the gift. I always appreciated the gifts, but I would never use them. And I realized that was a form of not receiving in my life. That's how it was manifesting itself in my life. And so if I had a block around there, where else do I have blocks around receiving bigger energy in my life? So just something to think about there. It's very much like breathing. I like to compare a lot of things to breathing because we all do it and it's kind of easy to get our heads around. But I was talking about this the other day in another program that I'm teaching right now, that we can only exhale so much air before we have to take an inhale again. And it's the same with inhaling. We can only inhale so much before we've got to exhale. And the inhales and the exhales pretty much need to match in order for our systems and everything to be working effectively and efficiently. I mean, if we're taking a lot of air in and only breathing a little bit out at a time, I mean, I think that's what asthma is, right? So there's an imbalance in your system. So we need to be able to balance this idea of if we want to bring in big energy, we've got to be able to hold it and we've got to be able to give it. Because if we're not able to complete that whole circuit, there will be kinks in our hose in terms of what we're trying to manifest in our life. Now, it was funny because I went through this issue. It was probably maybe two or 3 years ago, where I was doing this very thing. I was withholding energy, okay? And it was in my business. And I didn't really see it at the time until I had this really interesting parallel experience, shall I say. So I had these programs and they had worked really well for a number of years. And so I got into this space of where, let me, release this one again, and let me release this one again. And so I was taking the same marketing that I used, many, many times in the past, putting the same marketing out again in the same way, and, bringing people in that, into the program. And I noticed that after doing this for a while, first of all, my energy around what I was doing really started to go down. It kind of started to feel a little bit like a chore. But the thought of coming up with something new felt like a bigger chore. So I thought, this is easier. It's time to, get this class out there again. It helps people. It's a good program. Let's get it out there. But I also noticed that my numbers were dropping. I was having fewer people sign up. I was not feeling as excited about it. I mean, there was a total connection between how I was feeling, what I was doing, and what I was seeing back. But at the time, I couldn't see it. I could not see what was really happening. And I was thinking, well, why aren't as many people signing up anymore? And what's going on? And then it was so interesting because my husband brought home this, and this had happened maybe two years prior. Okay, my husband had brought home an aloe vera plant. It was after I think I burnt myself probably cooking, because that's pretty common. And so he got this aloe vera plant. And, it was an average size plant at the time, but over the 2 years that we had it, it had gotten so big. And then my husband and I noticed that, this plant is, no matter what we do with it and where we put it, how close to the sun and how much water and all of that, this plant was not thriving. It went from such a beautiful, thriving plant to just, dried up leaves, and it just really wasn't looking very, very good. We were talking about it one night around the time that I was noticing that my programs weren't working so well. And all of a sudden, as we were pondering, I wonder what's going on here, it was like, that when something just drops in and you're like, got it. I immediately burst out with, he needs a bigger pot. He's outgrown the pot. And we're not gardeners. So that, for you, if you're a gardener, you might be like, well, Jill, hello, that's obvious. But for me, that wasn't necessarily an obvious thought. Like, oh my goodness, so we immediately rushed out, got a bigger pot, replanted it, and literally within about a week, this thing had just like doubled in size, and it got super green and healthy, and it was thriving, and it was just amazing to look at this, the transformation in this plant. It was ready to expand. The plant was ready to expand, but we were not allowing it to expand. We kept it in the same pot. And it suddenly struck me that that's exactly what I've been doing in my business. I'm giving from the same old pot. Here, have this program again. Here's this marketing letter I sent out, 10 times. Let's send it out again. I was literally just, not growing, not allowing my pot to be bigger, not playing in a bigger pot. So that was something I noticed totally aligned with this idea of opening up our energy. And, you hear a lot of people talk about this, think outside the box. And so that got me thinking about this, really, we all sort of are living in a box. We all have a box around us. And so the box, when I talk about that, what I'm referring to really is your box, whatever size it is your current life right now. Okay. And, we all have different size boxes, and that's fine. And we also see certain people that have much bigger boxes than we do. Boxes that, gosh, I would love that box. That looks like what I'm trying to create here. And the thing is that I don't get to have that box until I allow myself to, kind of like grow out of my box. How do you grow out of your box and still thrive? You need to get out of it. You need to take a step out, because everything that, this comfortable space that you've created here, and it was comfortable what I was doing in my business. I knew what the marketing was, and I knew how to talk about the programs, and I knew exactly what I was delivering, and I knew what it looked like, and I knew how it served people. But there was nothing, there was no stretch there for me. There was no growth for me. I wasn't teaching anything new. There was nothing new. I wasn't growing. And as a result, I was attracting people that just, that sort of weren't growing. Everything just wasn't thriving. And it's because I was not allowing myself to step out of my box which is very uncomfortable, by the way. Living outside your box is not a comfortable place to be. And I know you ladies know this, but it is so essential to being able to step into that bigger life, bigger energy, bigger box kind of place. The only way we get out of our current box is to get out, is to step out of it and to go into that unknown place that can feel really scary. And this reminds me of, and I think this is the last story I want to share with you, but it reminds me of this, when I had decided that I was going to become a speaker. I just, one day, I had been thinking about it for a while. It wasn't just one day, but I thought, gee, I want to be a speaker. That sounds like something, an experience I desire to have. But, and I was a trainer in my corporate life. I was a trainer, and that I stepped into that role being 100% completely freaked out to speak in public. Like I'm telling you, it was bad. It was as bad as you think it could be. It was worse. I once, in a corporate meeting before I started the training role, we had to go to PepsiCo, and I had to make a presentation, and it was such a failure. I bombed it so bad. I couldn't get words out of my mouth. I was shaking. I was completely red. It was really, really embarrassing. And the nicest thing that anyone could say to me was, "Oh, Jill, it wasn't as bad as you think it was," which I know was code for it was pretty bad, but you're gonna be okay. So this was where I was coming to when I stepped into this corporate training role, because I knew I had to bust through all of that. That was way outside of my box to be a corporate trainer. And so what I know about myself and what I think is true for all of us is that when there's that thing that is trying to kind of push us out of our box and do something a little different and grow and expand and hold a bigger energy, it's going to feel super scary. So I knew I had to go for it. And after I did that and I started my business, I thought, now I need to become a speaker in my business, other than just teaching my classes. And I had sort of put that out there, and I had done some free talks where I would go, and I've told some of you the story of when I won't go into the whole story, but when I decided I was going to be a speaker, and so I got space here at the library, and I made a flyer, and I hoofed it around up and down the streets where we have a lot of businesses, handing out my flyer, signing up sponsors, asking if they can put the flyer in their window, because they were all businesses that were attracting my target market. And I filled this library space that I had rented out. And it was awesome. So I thought, okay, I need to start getting paid for my speaking now. Well, I had connected with this school, and I was doing they had some kind of a festival. And so I did some breakout workshops and things like that, but nothing major, nothing big. And there was no money involved. And I ended up getting, because I knew this counselor now, she reached out to me before an event, and it was Tuesday. The event was on Saturday. And she said, "Jill," she said, "I know this is short notice, but our keynote has canceled on us. We don't have a keynote speaker." They were having 300 people at this event. "We don't have a keynote speaker. And I really liked what you did at that festival when you ran that workshop. And I'm wondering if you could do our keynote. Would you be willing to do that?" And they were going to pay me. So this was going to be my first paid speaking gig. And my initial thought, well, first of all, I did the body thing, like I did when I was, imagining standing up in front of that audience of thousands and thousands of people. My energy contracted. I really wanted to roll up in a ball in my little box where it feels nice and safe, because I don't even know how to write a keynote, let alone give one. I really didn't feel like I knew this audience. I didn't even really know the counselor that well. I really felt out of my comfort zone, way outside. And so I I wanted to say no. And my plan was I was going to say no. I think I told her I needed to sleep on it. And I talked to my husband. I'm like, I cannot do this. I have 3 days and I don't know how to write a keynote and I can't do this. And then it just hit me that, Jill, you say you want to be a paid speaker. You say you want this bigger life, and you're not doing anything that's outside of this box. You're once again stuck in your comfort zone. If you don't do it, I mean, this is your opportunity. When's this going to come around again? How many people get this kind of an invitation? This is your opportunity. You have to jump into it. So I sort of did this little pep talk, and then I immediately, thank God, I was coaching with someone at the time who I had a deal with them where I could get like SOS calls. So if there was something that came up at the last minute, they would make time for me within about an hour or two's time span. So I was able to connect with my coach. She was able to give me the guidance and the direction so I could actually write this keynote. And I gave this keynote, and it was to mothers and their teenage daughters. It was one of the best experiences of my life. And it actually, what the keynote that I created, it ended up, it got me another gig at another school. It ended up giving me total, so much confidence in my ability to be able to rise to something like that and to actually create a really good piece of work that actually could really help people. And, people were moved, and I got a lot of positive feedback that day. And it was like the best thing I could have done. And I knew that in that moment that my box just got bigger. And now I'm able to do more. So all of this to say that if you say that you want, this big, I want X, Y, Z, these 5 things, these 10 things, these 20 things in my life, and your life doesn't have that quite at this moment, what are you going to do to get out of that box, to expand your pot, to plant yourself in a new pot so that you start living that experience now? Because when we have a desire and we put it out there, immediately the opportunities will show up to take you there. Are you going to say yes to those opportunities, or are you going to shrink in fear? And, as a successful woman that you are, I know that you know what it's like to feel the fear and do it anyways. But this idea of big life, big energy, just keep that in mind and sit with that and see, if I were operating with this idea present in my life, this big life equals big energy, where am I not doing that? Where am I not stepping into a bigger energy in my life? Where am I contracting rather than expanding into this energy? You can even ask yourself a few questions. You can ask yourself, where are you staying within your current box? Where are you not willing to dip your toe out and actually take a step when it comes to making decisions about your business or about your family or about your money? Where are you staying in the comfort of your box? Another question is, what new decisions could you make in these areas that require you to step out of the box to make them? Is there a decision that you are not making right now that would allow you to expand in an area? And lastly, what are you willing to commit to? Once you look at, what are some of these areas, or what are some of these decisions that I have not been willing to make because I'm feeling fear about it, I'm feeling doubt about it, but I really want the bigger, vision, the thing that I'm going for. What little choice, what decision, what action can you commit to that will take you a little further, to get you out of that comfort zone and actually do something that feels really scary and put yourself out there? because that is the key to thriving in your life and creating that bigger box, creating that bigger life, being a bigger energy. Our energy cannot grow and expand when we're making the same old decisions from the same old place. We have got to make new decisions and stretch into a new place. And I know as I'm saying this, we all know this, right? But are you doing it? And where have you not been willing to see that you're not actually doing it and admit that to yourself in certain areas? Don't be like my little aloe vera plant stuck in the pot, wanting to grow, screaming out to us to, please notice me, notice my leaves are getting brown. Notice that no matter how much or how little water you give me, I'm not growing. Notice how it doesn't matter how much sun you put on me. There's something else I need. And it's not any of those things. You need to allow me to spread out, to take a risk of taking up more space in a larger pot and seeing what I'm able to grow, how I'm able to grow from that experience of being in the new pot. So I hope that this has opened some things up for you, or maybe have you thinking in a slightly different way about some of the things that you're doing in your life, some of the decisions that you're making, and making a new choice today. Committing to yourself, deciding to allow yourself to take the risk. Because if you're not risking anything in your life, you're really not growing. You're staying in the same box and nothing's really changing. So if you want to see that progress, see that growth, we got to get real with ourselves and we've got to make a new decision. So I hope this helps. Thank you so much for being here. I will be back here same time, same place next week. I've already got like 3 topics lined up to talk about. I'm really excited to continue sharing with you, and I will keep you posted on where this is going, what the involvement will be. I think it's going to be a private group program that we'll be putting together with some coaching and things, but I don't really know. That was the initial inspiration that I got, but until I figure it out, we're just going to keep coming together and playing in this space, and I hope that you will join me. So thanks so much, everyone. I talked a little longer than I hoped. I want to try to keep these to about 30 minutes, but thank you for being here, and I will hopefully see you next week. Bye-bye for now.